Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that have shaped us into who we are today. I am your host, Anebi, and I can't wait to dive into these moments with you. Let's get it. Welcome to another episode of the Inflection Podcast. The pleasure to have with me here today, the man, the myth, the legend, Saul, co-founder of Letsscale and Ease. And it's amazing to have you with me here today, Saul.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So it's interesting when we started talking, I was diving into your background a little bit more. You've had a lot of experience with the operational side of things, scaling these ops, feeding operational teams and operational excellence. And I love to get into the why and the pivotal points that led up to that. So for you, has that always been pretty clear career-wise, or did you just find yourself doing more operations and taking on increasing roles there?
But it wasn't always clear what it was, but I always had the desire and to lead a team and really be a guide to other people. A lot of people in my life showed up in that way, especially earlier on. Our brother raised by a single mom, and she wasn't able to be everything for us, but she did a great job connecting us with the right people, active guys in our life, filling those gaps and help us have all kinds of experiences. And then at an early age, I came home one day. My mom had a job for me at Chick-fil-A, and they do a lot of development of youth and give a lot of opportunities to take those leadership roles. First John Maxwell books, I really enjoyed it. The sacrifice of having to learn and lead the team. I like that community aspect. So I got a niche for it there, but I wasn't sure what it was going to become at that time until I went to college and found supply chain operations management. And when it was becoming like a career in the mid 2000s, I think 2010, 2000 and so on, made it a major, and I loved it. So it gave me an opportunity to really be a community builder, also touch every part of operation, and really just find untapped potential in people and in myself. Kind of have found a niche.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you held leadership roles at Amazon and transitioned from that. Was that a transition for you? Hey, long time coming. And if so, what did that look like, that transition from Amazon to running your own ship pretty much?
Oh, so from Amazon. So Amazon to me, it was a great opportunity and a blessing coming from my first role, which was a good opportunity as well, but it was a little bit more traditional. It was at a chemical manufacturing company. We're very structured, very hard to do anything innovative, but a great company. It's called Aldridge. It's like Merck Sigma, got acquired when I was leaving. But Amazon, honestly, because of how I joined Amazon, it was still very entrepreneurial. And they always say it's not a startup still, but day one, right? And that like ability to innovate, have a 40% right idea, and them say, hey, go do it. You always have to be careful what you bring up because they're going to give you the freedom. But great leaders will write a lot in Amazon, otherwise they're not there long. But so I got to act on that and had endless opportunities and projects and things to work on. So I was still being pretty entrepreneurial inside that business because I actually had the opportunity to help launch Amazon delivery service at its inception, which required me to really coming up with how it was going to be done in the US market, right? And that was exciting. And then I transitioned to Ease. I actually work on Ease while I was at Amazon still. And we were really big believers in bootstrapping. I just had time. How to make time, I guess. But yeah, it was done really well, profitable. He was my brother's vision and idea. And I was on the operations side of it, find the talent, support with next steps and things like that. We were profitable in that business. And then with the opportunity to go through an accelerator called Generator based out of Wisconsin. And that's where I had to make a decision because I couldn't do both at that point anymore. I'm taking VC funding, scaling the business. So I decided to go full time into Ease, which was a big decision for me at that age. Still like in my 20s, I had stability, quite a few shares of stock about the best, like less than a year, like 150, which I walked away from because I felt like God was calling me in a different direction. Never been driven by money, just my next opportunity. So I just trusted that. And then we had some great successes there, right? Raised venture capital our first 12 weeks of the program, about almost $1 million. And then went from there. So it was, like I said, I had to be even more innovative. I had less clear direction as to what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, Amazon, it was very clear. It was like, it's just what project do you want to work on? Whereas startup, you got to do a lot of things simultaneously and you got to be really self-directed. But once I knew what direction I was going in, that corporate, I guess you would say, or that big, having that kind of responsibility helped me be able to strategize and break down the things I had to do in Ease.
Yeah. That's really cool. And for those listening, you started Ease, and now it's growing to they, the way I like to frame is you officiate the marriage between companies and global remote talent around the world, wherever they may be. Is that accurate?
I think you could say like the eight. So Ease is its first project, we could say, was an HR tech solution, which was a gig economy solution, acting as a matchmaker, similar to what I do now, but here I'm leveraging Ease as like a tech solution for any type of staffing, but we focus on medical and tech and for gig economy workers, which plays a huge role in us being geared for what we're doing now. But really, it's really just a ways to assess and give people the right opportunities to work remote. For example, if you're in the office with your boss versus the person working remote who may be producing better, they just have that visibility, but they may get the promotions over you. So we actually help bridge that gap with some behavioral technology and a SaaS solution that essentially can partner with other staffing agencies, manage your all existing talent, or we can source the talent for you through that. Yes, it's correct though. We are a matchmaker and delivery success manager with that tech solution.
And you have AI built into that. Was that something at the core from the start, or something over time you found an opportunity to incorporate that into your product?
So the phrase right now these days is a little unclear, right? So what
Is that?
essentially what you're doing when you're building something like what we're doing right now, people are looking at, I think, regenerative AI, where it sources from past information to help you. So
Yeah.
what we do, it starts off with machine learning, and then using that machine learning to build an AI by partnering with corporations and using that data and that information to create something that can create predictive insight. Most true AI as a company, that's what they need to get to
Yeah.
as a SaaS startup. Yeah. So we had AI and machine learning in our solution from the start, but from the more traditional aspect where, the things we're working on can't be created with the AI people think about these days overnight
Yeah.
without access to a lot of data and like really training it and modeling it out. And that's what we've been building and working with those corporate partners in that company. Now, AI, like I said, is vague because a good machine learning can be 95% accurate. You won't know the difference or care. But
Yeah.
98% when it comes to banks and stuff of true AI. But for consumers, I don't care about that part. But for us to get it to be predicting things that have not been done yet, you got to train it. Yeah, we had that in there from the
Absolutely.
start.
But one of the things you talk about at ease is building building a model that human-centric, and innovative HR solutions for the future of the workforce, for the future of work. What does this look like from your standpoint? You've worked with several businesses. You're at the forefront of the future of work. So if you could speak to what does this look like and how can businesses potentially adapt to this change? I want to say coming change, but it's already happening. I think COVID helped accelerate some of that. But it's broad on purpose. Like any thoughts there? When I say future of work, what are you see coming from your experience, and how can businesses
Yeah.
brace themselves for that?
I think the businesses that are either forced into it or having to adapt to it is really just figuring out how you can leverage these tools and resources to connect with people and keep them interested in being with you and working with your business and measuring their happiness and trying to keep the workforce as fair for everyone as possible. And that's why we work with behavioral scientists in our business, not just developers or technical experts, someone who could help us go into emerging markets, understand unconscious bias, the different trends, how people answer questions differently. The science behind it. That's why it's very important to have that. I think when you go into behavioral studies beyond just like the
Mhm.
matchmaking and like the tabs, understand the psychology of people. I think once you do that, you can speak to someone in a language they understand. Hey, you're behaving this way versus your personality sucks, right? People
Yeah,
respond better to behavioral traits, especially once they understand where they fall into that spectrum. And also, it's easier to build a model around that since your behavior is different states you can be on based off what's happening around you, right? But a true scientist can understand the state, same as a psychologist, to help build something that can support you while you still have your own personality. Your
absolutely.
behavior can be affected by your environment. And that's what a work group of company should focus on is the environment, right? And then, so that's really what E is focused on is really trying to work on that culture, that matching ways to upskill, ways to different projects we worked on. I'm my founder. My brother is the original founder. I'm a co-founder with them with Ease. How we had a problem with how can we upskill single moms in the workforce and what can we do to, give them that proper experience. We didn't find the perfect solution for that, but we identified that the biggest way to focus was like supporting their kids because they were in that situation stuck in poverty because they the leap to the number and that they needed, they lose their benefits in between the issue. But really, we were able to assess the behavioral characteristics and the desire to work, to want to learn, but how do they find the time? So what key programs and things should we be building to do that? So that's something we focus on. Ease, like I said, Ease is a technology company that built the HR solution first, whereas my other company, Letsscale, is a management consulting firm that leverages trending outside that market, which is the leadership.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. One of these things you've mentioned is leveraging your God-given gifts and talents in your approach to business.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you? Like, how to identify said talents in yourself and also to help nurture that in the teams that you lead?
I like to break it down this way first. If we're going to talk about business, you have a fixed leader and a growth focused leader. A fixed leader is someone that relies a lot on their own understanding. They believe they build the best product. People will come. They're not really listening to everyone around them, different insight. And then they're very hard to pivot, which means they're more in danger of things changing around them, impacting their business if they don't get lucky. Whereas a growth focused leader focuses a lot on empathy, understanding like how everything works together, making decisions on feedback, knowing the decision maker. And also they're open to pivot, especially if they see opportunity to improve the company. But if they make a mistake, people tend to be more understanding. Obviously, leaders are right a lot because they were part of the process and the journey. So it makes them a little bit more resilient, which I think is really a requirement of the founder. And the ones who aren't like that need to tend to find someone who can dial it in and take that role. But I think ultimately, that's how I look at myself in the sense of, it's been times where I've been fixing my mindset sometimes, but I know that like my gift happens to be in the scaling and business operations side and like building those communities. I look at whatever work, to me, work is worship. Everyone has God-given talents, and my talents just happen to be in this space. So I want to be an evangelist in this space by serving people the right way. When I look at the best roadmap for who I should be, how it should be, helps me connect with people beyond how I feel. It goes back to my faith and like that journey and being able to serve people at that capacity. So ultimately, I think that we're as business professionals, we're not just leaders, we're guides. So really, I try
Yeah.
and be a guide, and I try to have that holistic approach. What do my clients and people I'm working with really want for that, just their business, their life, and how close are they to that? How can I help them and be a matchmaker? Even if it isn't working with me directly, how can I use the resource in front of me to make that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. So one of the things that is pretty clear to me, right, is just every time we've interacted, every time we've talked, I see this come through and it's about our actions, purpose, having a deep sense of purpose, right? And also aligning our integrity and intention together. So how do you instill values like this in leaders you coach or help them navigate that? Because in the corporate world, it's so easy to fudge your way through things, right? Or you say stuff that looks nice on slides, but it's like, there ain't no way that's going to happen. So what does that look like for you to synchronize the intentions, integrity, and the actions with yourself and also with leaders you work with to coach?
What I'll say is I wouldn't let corporations off the hook that easy, right? Because the challenge with a corporation is your team, when you get hired, can determine your success. So one corporation is multiple businesses. Each team is like a business, right? So the right leaders understand that and have to manage that. But I think it's really comes down to the person in charge, right? People perform based on what they're measured upon. So no matter how they act, if their raise is tied to it and community engagement, they're going to work on
Yep.
community engagement, right?
Yeah.
So that's really on the leaders, but the leaders really, it's how they're operating. I always focus on myself. I might focus more on who I'm being than what I'm doing. And am I disseminating that culture through whoever I'm working with? And am I putting the time so that they get things done the way I want them to into the performance? And
Yeah.
like when people can just get away with a slide, it's because the performance metrics are not strong enough, or we're not being clear enough about our corporate business objectives for them to effectively come with a plan. Because they're showing up, that means they want to be at work or they want to do well. Otherwise, they quit or they're not there. They show up, I'm going to work with them and try to figure out, like, and then give them a voice, right? Give them an opportunity to share. You make the final decisions as a leader. You own that. But I think it's really important to identify how people are operating, let them talk and get information and without judging or attacking them. But I think one thing that's really challenges these days, and someone might get frustrated understand that, but the expressive individualism plays a key role in like how workplace force operates right now, where in a sense we're someone's truth or what they believe, it's now oppressing others, right? So I think it's about creating this place where
Okay,
people can actually connect with each other and express who they are, but you don't want someone to come in the workplace and make everyone else's way of life have to go away to cater to them. So it's
Yeah.
okay for your company needs a standard, needs a structure. People need to walk into something. But the only way to make things customized is to have some standardization. And
Yeah.
every company's culture, it's why you started the business, right? That's why it's your business or someone owns it, whether they get big or not. Like Amazon's culture, you understand what you're walking into. And it actually does cater to many people being how they want to be. And then, but they ask them, how do you add that to our principles? Standardization leads to customization. And that's why I like to focus on, but it starts with the person in charge, putting that into the business, right? Or for themselves, how you measuring yourself or like updates to your investors, whoever. Let people know what you expect, like to performance metrics on yourself. If I'm not hitting these goals by myself, then hold myself to it, but other people too. Like how are they're going to perform based on what you're giving them as a role. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's what's worked for me. And
Yeah.
at any level, right? Like from the frontline worker to the executives, obviously a salaried person works different, but they have different goals. Like someone comes with a PowerPoint with no purpose. Like I look for actionable strategies as well. And
Yeah.
also when should I see results or stage relevance? And then also maybe the person put a lot of work into something big picture. Maybe I'm not using that person effectively. Maybe they're in the wrong department. Maybe there's ways to leverage them, but they still got the day to day they got to worry about.
Yeah.
So it's a lot on the leader as I put it on.
Thank you. That's really good context. You talk quite a bit about, oh, actually, I was looking into your company and you've saved other companies millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars in the last few years with operational efficiencies. What is one key lever? If maybe there's a silver bullet here, but what is one key lever that you go to start helping companies get more operationally efficient and lean? There's not as much bleed.
I think it starts with first off, like, how can I add value and benefit to this organization? And is the problem something they're losing sleep over or dreaming about? Which is the stuff we like to work on, that 20% of growth. And that's how we're able to really dial in laser focus into those initiatives. So we can have those strong KPIs, those strong targets, right? And that could lead to a couple of different areas that need to focus in the business. So Letsscale actually stands for the acronym SCALE stand for something, right? You have the right systems in place, system alignment in the business, like the right things to drive the business. You have cultural alignment, right? We like to blend digital and human capabilities together, but do people understand the company now? It's the person cleaning the bathrooms or talking about your business, what you do and why they're there, right? And oftentimes you may not know, like when someone comes to check your building out, the bathroom says a lot about how you operate your business, right? When they go, how clean it is, how it's taken care of, right? The thing that you think people wouldn't take, some people walk, that's where they go first. How a warehouse or how it's being handled, right? Then they go look elsewhere. And then also, are you agile, right? That's what the A stands for. Do you have the ability to people to make decisions quickly, knowing what's right for the business without overly complicated approval process? Like those meetings you mentioned, like the person should know how to bring in agile strategies and the big picture stuff to the boss. That outside that, with the immediate team, things we're accomplishing, working on now. And then are you lean? You have ways to identify waste or things that are going well so you can repeat it. And then are you operating effectively, not efficiently, not just effectively? Efficient means working the way you intended. And the reason we created Letsscale was actually scale originally, because as I was thinking about the business and we drew a picture of yourself and you brought it to life at scale, what does it need to thrive and survive? And then my supply chain mind came together and it started making sense, scale in a way that people aren't using in the business to this day. That's the original concept from us. It's a framework that we use to measure and assess projects to add value to our clients, which leads to very quickly being able to add value to a business by doing a diagnostic of what they need and assessing what they're doing, and then creating those customized solutions and putting those experts in our network, which is really the power of our organization, is the community we have available to us to serve people.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. What advice along the same lines? What advice would you give to leaders who are trying to build trust, camaraderie, and more so result-oriented relationships in the organization versus busy, activity-laden relationships? Hey, a bunch of meetings, but where are the results? One, building trust, right, within the organization, but also how do you move more to result? We focus on results and outcomes versus busy activity.
Man, that's a good question. I think it depends on the stage of the business, right? But one thing at the fundamental level is I had up to 3,000 employees one time, right? The first thing I would do at Amazon, the largest scale, is I walk through the building and make eye contact with everybody. Show them they matter before I did anything, no matter how setback I was, I hit a lap. And the people who really want to talk to me will talk to me. Otherwise, they'd be, hey, what's up, Saul? But it meant everything. Me, it meant walking that floor. And then I never said yes or said I'd get back to somebody unless I had a note, because you missed that one follow up, then the trust is gone. So I got really good at saying no. I was very consistent, and people, they'd be like, dang, Saul don't always give you what you want. Probably most time he gonna say no. But at least he's very consistent, ethical, and keeps it real with me, right? And I think that's very important when you're thinking about your team. It's, oh, this guy, he finishes where he starts. He has discipline and consistency, whether he likes motivation or not. He gets the job done, right? He'll roll up his sleeve. That's like the say my church says, we pick up trash, never above any job. But also, I know my limitations. It's all about developing others and myself. And I think at any stage in the business, the community you have is important. And that's why we're hosting a conference called the Enduring Leaders. But we believe that enduring leaders are the reasons companies thrive, right? Those strong founding management teams. And oftentimes, people don't always have that in the beginning. But a lot of founders have been successful, repeat founders, repeat success. But you can always go seek those people out. And then you have the drive, whether you're in a corporate setting looking to innovate, looking to just maintain and stay creative so you can maintain your job, or if you're a startup looking for resources, a co-founder, get involved and show up and then show them how you're living and what you're doing so you can set that structure. Like I said, you got startups, you have normal brick and mortar or early enterprise, and you have people get ready to sell their business, which is a whole other process. They're not looking to scale, but looking at how to do due diligence. So hopefully answer your question. Like I said, it depends on what stage of your business, but really, yeah, that's about how you're showing up.
Hey, thank you so much, Saul, for hopping on with us. Lastly, I'd like to ask, how do you recharge? You're busy, you're scaling all these companies, you're consulting, you're building communities. How do you recharge in your downtime and find the inspiration to jump back in again, refreshed?
Man, that took me a little bit of time to figure out. I feel like I figured out early on a good time in my career. And I was
Yeah.
focused on success more than significance for a while. It's always, especially Amazon and even in the startup world, there's so many goals and things to chase. Then one day, God took all the next steps away. I was like, oh man, nothing to live for. Oh my God, silly and selfish. There was so much more, but it helped me recalibrate and be like, hey, you know what? What's most important? Family, legacy, being a good brother, friend, husband one day. And then actually by focusing on significance, it actually helped me focus on having empathy for others, which led to me actually being more successful in business, right? Because I actually took a more holistic approach and I was getting right to what people really needed, which made conversations easier, helped us get more done, which built trust right away so we can get to the point. And I think and then also I started, one thing I've been doing for over a year now is I have one day, my job is just not to work. For me, that's set. Just so I can unwind and actually live a longer life. There's
Yeah.
a study that was done, you guys can look it up, where they looked at this religious group called the 7-Day Evangelists. On average, they live 10 years longer just by not working one day through that study than the average American. And we live shorter lives, even though we get longer lives than most people than we used to. But other countries have longer lifespans than
Yeah.
Americans, and we have
And
even
also,
more abundance. Yeah. So
yeah.
really, I think you got to have that rest. You got to
Wow.
recharge. And then, honestly, the last thing I'll say is, no, your vision has to be bigger than yourself, man. And that's motivation alone, whether it's feeding your family or making sure the people who invested in you are able to be successful, and that you can like either sell your company or keep it in business. Like people are counting on you when you scale business. It's not just about you. So
Yeah.
that helps motivate me as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Saul. Appreciate the gift of your time and insights, and I look forward to more conversations and collaborations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.